We are live. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have a great guest today. Talal Ali Ahmad is the CEO and founder of Predictive Healthcare. And I'm going to pass it over to you, Talal, to tell us a little bit about what you do and what's on your mind.
Yeah, thank you for having me on this show. I appreciate it. So, I'm the founder and CEO of Predictive Healthcare. We develop a platform to monitor post-operative surgical wound to alert the clinician early sign of infection or complication. And the main goal is to cut readmission and emergency room visit. So, it's a platform consists of mobile app for the patient and the doctor, and we integrate with Epic. So that's a nutshell what we do today. We're focusing on surgical wounds only because it's a major problem. Is not I have to say that there is not that always the doctor's fault
Mhm.
with the infection. It's that like we as a human we don't follow instruction when we go home. They say stay off your feet for 1 2 days, and you're like cutting the grass the next day. So that's it.
And also, instructions very often are sent home in a packet of paper, which you throw out and you don't remember what it is, right? And then you, even though you meant to stay off your feet, you forgot, right? Because you threw out the piece of paper.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, you're not talking about one piece of paper. You're talking a stack of paper.
A good
Yeah,
stack of exercise. So digitizing
it's a
that
long.
flow is an undertaking.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested, Talal, in understanding what was it that led you to sort of. I mean, obviously there's tons of different medical uses and things that people are looking at. This one was when I first met you. I just thought this is a really interesting use that, of course, I'm not in the medical field. I never would have thought of. So what was it that sort of led to you kind of going down this
Yeah.
particular path?
So, one disclaimer: I'm not a doctor. I hang a lot around doctors a lot. Some people think I'm a doctor, but I'm not. So it came from personal experience. My son had a surgery,
Mm,
and we brought him home, and they said like they gave us a stack of paper, give him the medication, call us any issues. So the wound it wasn't getting better, it was getting red. My kid's in a lot of pain. So he was under 18. So we called the hospital and said, okay, you need to bring him over. We brought him over. They look at it. Okay, maybe we need to up the antibiotics a little bit and let's monitor it.
mhm,
So we end up going local because the hospital has an office here. Call us if you have any issues. 3 days later, the same issue. Nothing's not getting better.
mhm,
We call and he said, oh, well, we can't see you today. You have to go to Boston. So
mhm.
we went to Boston, emergency room for 4 or 5 hours, waiting for someone to see us.
Of course.
And then the same thing, look at it. It's like, oh, maybe it's a reaction. Let's change this, do this, give us some to clean up the wound and everything. And we're sitting there, and whenever he's taking pictures, they're on the phone. And we asked the doctor, is like, would have been a picture sent to you be like sufficient to tell us what's going on? Because we've been here for 6 hours. It took you 5 minutes to look at it, and you knew right away.
Right.
And he said, yeah, if you send me a good picture, I'll be
Right.
able to tell you. And we're not going to go to the legal issue by sending pictures, but that she said that would work. And that's when the whole idea came. So
Mhm,
I talked to my in someone of my engineers said, I'm thinking to do this. Can we do a quick trial, see if it works?
mhm.
And
Yep.
we did it, and it's there. You can take up a good picture. You can look at the redness compared to day before, like 3 days before, and said, okay, this makes sense. Went back to the doctor, and we asked him, friendly surgeon, said like, I'm developing this. What do you think? And they started coming up with ideas. But the concept, like, yes, we can use this in one condition. You make sure you give me good pictures because I don't want selfies. I don't want picture of the walls. I don't want picture with the people wearing clothes and say my wound hurts. So
Mm.
that's the whole idea. And we build the product based on that image acquisition and a good image to send to the doctor.
Uh-huh.
So I'm
What
really curious, Talal, what are
leads
some of
oh, go
that's
ahead,
okay.
Eric.
No, I was going to say what are some of the issues that you're um, getting pushback on from doctors? And you mentioned before the show about the that some of the doctors are maybe worried about their jobs, but there must be other kinds of pushback on. Yeah, what
So
is what?
so when we approach the doctor and tell them what we're doing, um, they don't want to be told what's going on with the patient. They are the doctor, which we understand that. You are the doctor, you own the patient, you manage the patient. We're not going to tell you what's wrong with the patient. We're going to tell you there's something you need to look at it today. and you can decide what's wrong with the patient. We're not going to go diagnosing the patient, and that's the biggest thing for them is you're not going to tell me what's wrong with the patient, what to do to the patient. We tell them we're not. We just provide you with the information enough for you to make a decision on the next step. So pictures, vital signs, and some well-being data. And some of them they don't care. They care about the picture and vital signs. Someone say like, "What did you eat before?" and something like that. So the key is when we approach them, we learned that the hard way is like we don't tell them like the application will tell you what's wrong with the patient because they don't want to hear that. And with all respect, I'm not a doctor. The application is not a doctor, so they don't want to be in that, and they're liable for that too. If we tell them what's wrong, they're gonna say you told me that. So we try.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, Talal. Legal and HIPAA implications. There are a lot of sensitivities there. How are you navigating?
Okay, so legal when it comes to FDA, so we follow the FDA guideline. As long we don't do diagnosing on the wound itself, we're safe to say elevated risk or standard risk. That's mean we telling the doctor there's something they need to look at it. So that's the legal part, and we never go beyond that. On a HIPAA side, I mean we follow the guideline. You know, HIPAA is a self-guided thing you implement. So we are on AWS HIPAA platform. We follow all the backup standard procedure, everything in there, and it's gonna change. There's no mandate for cybersecurity right now. They're updating the HIPAA requirements. So, like I tell everybody, HIPAA and cybersecurity, it's a journey. It's not a target. You never say, "I got there. I'm secure. I'm HIPAA 100%." No, it's a journey. Every 6 months, something new you have to look at.
I'm curious as to so it seems to me that at least half of this is going to be the user interface and user experience. I mean, the AI is obviously the cool thing that everybody's like, whoa, you can do that, right? But actually, isn't it the user experience that actually is going to make or break this?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's the user experience from the patient side and from the doctor side. The patient we assume I'm in pain. I'm groggy from the drugs. I don't want to spend like 10 minutes trying to take a picture and enter data. We want it in like quickly. So everything designed and like to do everything under 90 seconds. So take the pictures, enter 2 entries, submit, and gone. Same thing on the doctor's side. We figure out the doctor's going to do, and this has been the theory for a long time, as far as I remember. 3 clicks, it doesn't give you the data, they're not going to use it. So everything designed around that. And especially, we created the mobile app because we know the doctors can be running from one clinic to another, seeing patient or from between OR. They're going to pull the phone, they're going to look at things quickly. They don't have time to navigate to 3 different screens. So that's the whole thing. The user experience has to be adjusted based on who's using it. If you're sitting on the beach, you can spend 10 minutes looking at this or doing things. But if you're in bed, you want to take a picture,
Right.
that had to be quick.
So
yeah, makes sense. I was just thinking that, from the patient end of it, if you think about it, Amazon changed the way we interact with the world, right? We expect everything to be more or less working as easily as Amazon, right? And you come to healthcare and it's nothing like it, right? And you just described the experience where you had to go again and again and spend countless hours. So it's just very interesting that healthcare is already, I think, is starting to be patient demanded and patient driven. In that patients are demanding this kind of solutions, right? And sooner or later, doctors will just have to deal with them as well, want it or not, because patients will choose doctors that are on these platforms that allow them to go home without the, thick book of paper.
And also, and that's what the decision we made from day one is we use a smartphone. We're not going to introduce a new hardware for you to take a picture, because use your own phone. You can take a picture. We're not going to tell you you have to use this phone, you have to use this device. And that's also helped the hospital, because the hospital, even there's a big 800 number of most of the devices sent home, they end up calling the hospital saying this device is not working.
Right.
We heard that from several doctors, like, I don't want another device. I don't want to manage another device.
Right. One of the things, Talal, that I always find fascinating about innovation in the healthcare professions is this issue of how does it fit into existing workflows. You mentioned a little bit about, Epic and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about, how did that play into how you were developing this, and what the role of that, those existing workflows plays in this?
Yes, so we looked at what's the gold standard today for patient follow-up. Today is I have a surgery, I go home, I got a call within 24 hours saying, "Hey Talal, how you doing today? Everything is good? Yes, call us if you have any issues, and we'll
Mhm.
see you in 10 days or 2 weeks." That's the gold standard. If
Right.
I have an issue, I call, and if I'm good, giving good description of my issues, then they decide I need to come in or not. 99% of the time, the nurse or the doctor going to tell you you need to come in because they want to make sure.
Mhm.
So we elevating that like resources from calling the patient every day, because if the doctor does an average 10 surgeries a week, someone's gonna have to call every other day these patients. So if you get a screen with all the information in front of you and with the label on it, which one you want to call first, you might end up calling everybody, but you want to call Talal first because it's elevated risk. The picture look of it red comparing to what it's supposed to be.
Right.
So we kind of it fit in a clinical decision where the flow of the follow-up on the patient. You don't have to make phone calls anymore unless you need to, but you have all the data coming to you first thing in the morning or whenever you need it. It's a real time. It's not something you have to call the patient, send me a picture.
That's
How
interesting.
much,
Does
how
that,
much
Eric? Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I was just going to ask the question of how um, are you also targeting folks who are non-MD caregivers? I mean, like, it seems to me that people who do home health visits and, nursing home staffing and so forth, this could be a really valuable tool.
So today, the big thing is the big name is hospital at home, which nursing goes home. Technically, or visiting nurse is they go to the home, they collect the data, and send it to the hospital for someone to look at it.
Mhm.
But there's no kind of automating of the stuff. So they can give the application to the patient, submit the data, and cut down on the visit to the home. Now, some hospital might hate me for that because now they can get billed for that, bill for that. But it can cut on that too because there's a shortage on nurses in the market today. So
Mhm.
if you can collect data without a sending nurse, that's good for the hospital. So hospital at home, wound care facility, skilled nurse facility, that's all play roles because skilled nurse facility, they end up sending the patient back to the hospital. They're not going to take care of the patient if any issues. So they
Right.
have to run it by the doctors. That will prevent them from sending the patient all the time.
Yep.
So I was gonna ask, so what do you, I don't know if you're able to share this or
Yeah.
willing to share this, but what's next? Where do you go from here? Like, what do you see as is it different applications of the same idea, or is it something that takes this idea to the next?
So so that we have the base, which is kind of take the care of the patient after surgery.
Mhm.
Next is the recovery period. So we want to know if the recovery path is a patient on the right recovery path. So
Right.
the wound is healed, everything's okay. I did a hand surgery. Am I moving my hands the right way? Am I really doing the right exercise? Am I eating well or I'm not eating? I'm nausea. So all the stuff full recovery, we have to follow that, and
Right.
that's the second phase of what we're doing. And also the other thing is right now we're operating without existing data like the patient history or medical history. So that
Mhm.
will add in if someone we know they never take medication on time, for example. So we add that to the mix. Okay, this patient is compliance star is like 3 stars, not five. So someone has to make sure they're taking the medication, or they're supposed to walk every day for half an hour. Then we don't detect any mobility, so we need to let the doctor know. So the one is the entry for us, and then evolve from there to follow up with
Yeah.
the patient into the end.
But it also makes me think. So Jeff and my father at one point was sick and he needed to go back to the hospital, and his blood pressure had dropped. This was like 25 years ago or something.
Yeah.
He's probably listening. I hope he's not going to sue me for a HIPAA violation. Anyway, but his blood pressure had dropped, and his blood pressure dropped. And I was like, oh no, he's fine. He's going to be fine. But thankfully, my mother was responsible for taking care of him. It was like, no, we need to get him into the hospital. But this, what that makes me think of, what you're doing is you're not telling anybody what kind of care, but you're telling people, when is there an elevated risk? When do you actually need to go? So, I mean, the classic case, every guy at our age or whatever is like, am I having a heart attack every time, they feel some weird twinge on their left side?
Yeah.
So it's like, are there other applications where it just tells you, yeah, you should be, because 99% of the time, or 99.9% of the time, or 100% of the time, because I've never gone in for because I thought I was having a heart attack. Well, I did once have a doctor think I was having a heart attack. Anyway, side note is, that, the 99.9% of the time we're not, they don't need to go in. How can you reduce? And I don't know the frequency of people who actually go in who don't need to go in, but my guess is that there are many who do and many who need to who don't. And so I guess, is there interest for predictive healthcare, or what's your thoughts on the industry around those kinds of applications beyond wound care?
Yeah. So, I mean, in general, digital health is becoming a very crowded space. There's a lot of application out there. If you go to a hospital, they have an app for everything. So eventually there'll be consolidation of all this technology in one platform, hopefully, or two. So right now we look at wound pictures and vital signs. Could be Elena has another platform where they monitor using the Apple Watch. So we can work together, get the data from Elena and our data, and we give a kind of complete picture for the doctor. Based on these two data, we're predicting this is going to happen with the doctor. For someone, for example, is not very active, and we know that from Elena's app, like sitting 6 hours a day, the chance to get a heart attack, I don't know, what is 50%, less than 50%, that we can start doing that part and alert the clinician and alert the patient at the same time. Today, we don't alert the patient with anything because we don't want the patient start calling the doctor. I get an alert, how come you haven't called me? So, but I think that's what we're heading toward, that is we let the patient know we're detecting something unusual. We notified your doctor, please stay tuned, or something like that.
So it's interesting that you use that example, because I don't know, it was probably a year and a half ago. My doctor thought might be something going on with my heart. And so I got one of those heart monitors that they now, okay, years and years ago, I had one. It was like a Sony Walkman, and I had to carry this thing around with me. Now it's just they just stick a little device on your chest, and then you, at least I had to carry around a phone. I think they don't even have the phone anymore. It's just, and so you have all this stuff. But what was interesting was, it's like we're not quite set up to deal with this yet. And so at some point I got a call from my doctor saying, hey, there was an episode on such an or they didn't even tell me what day. If you're if you feel like you're having heart attack symptoms, you should go in to the hospital right now. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I didn't have any symptoms. So it turns out, like, later when I went to actually see the cardiologist, he showed me, like, and I'm looking at when it happened, and it was like I was in the middle of a 10-mile run, like I didn't have any heart pains or whatever. And so the interesting problem was that when I looked at when the doctor called me versus when the event happened, it was like 4 days later. And so it's like there's not enough. It's like we're not there yet, right? In terms of, how do you real time react to it?
It's another thing is, like, it could be the device malfunction too in reporting errors. So there's no correlation between the device and what's reporting. It could be devices having an issue.
Right.
So all this data is going to come to play at one point, and we're hoping to be in the middle of that.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I mean, it seems like that's where it's going. Actually, I want to use that as a sort of pivot into this whole AI discussion. Given that there aren't enough probably human beings to look at all this data, do you imagine that it will be essentially AI sort of reading the data, in a more robust fashion at some point, kind of saying, hey, there's a problem here? Or how do you see that? I mean, it'll happen eventually, but how do you see that change happening?
So today we talk about AI. Everybody's doing AI algorithm, but nobody talk about how efficient it's going to be moving down. So
Yeah.
I think the way it's going to be is the AI become another layer on the SaaS model we have today.
Yes.
So the Yammer, all the stuff, it's going to start look at everything and start processing data at the better speed because it learn as it go. So it has to go. It is going faster. If you look at the genome and all biology and chemistry, it's moving very fast. What
Yeah.
we're doing is not like a huge thing, but the one thing I see is there's a lot of data start coming more than we used to have before. Today, you go to a hospital, the Epic has your medical record, has your history, period. Now we add in your family history, can be more detailed for like 3 generation back, maybe. I don't know. You wearing a watch, there's more data coming from the watch. So all this data is sitting, the AI is going to sit on top and say, okay, let me see what's going on there and start processing.
Yeah.
Now, the
And
question,
Epic is an old system. For
yeah,
Epic to get all of that AI data is going to be problematic.
yeah,
It's nothing Epic specific, right?
correct.
All EHRs are older.
I mean, it was built to collect data and store data in a fashion where doctor and hospital can look at it.
Right.
Now, people like company like us and everybody else like trying to build something to sit on top of Epic. Epic say, no, I'm going to do this inside. I mean, we're talking to some hospitals where they want to build, they don't want to use external technology complete. They want to use the engine. Give me your engine. I put it inside my Epic. I'll pay you.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. But I want the engine. I don't want to use all these stuff you have built around it.
Right.
So, and I'm sure Epic and other EMR is going to head that way too.
Got it. Well, while we're talking about AI, we always like about this point in about this point in the podcast, we like to have ChatGPT jump in and ask a couple of questions.
Okay.
I always ask it funny questions, and it usually gives me sort of a mix of absurd and thought-provoking. I'm not sure that's a good mix today, but do you have a preference, absurd or thought-provoking first?
Surprise me.
All right. This one's definitely absurd. If your AI could talk, would it sound more like, or we'll say your app could talk, would it sound more like a calm surgeon or a worried mother texting, "Are you okay?" every 10 minutes?
Well, I'm known to be calm around a lot of people, but in my own, I'm not a calm person. So I don't know. I think I switch when I go around people because I volunteer with this organization called the Global Smile Foundation, and I go with them on the mission. And there's like 40, 50 medical staff there. And he was running, and they come. I'm like calm, monotone all the time.
Right,
And they
right.
told me, how you control that? I said, I don't know, because when I go back to the office, I'm screaming at everybody and like engineers, what's going on there? I need this. You told me that. So one of my DNA is switching back and forth. I don't know.
Now, I want to know how did you handle your son's situation? Were you calm when he was having this potential incident with an infection, or were you more like, we got to go in?
To be honest with you, I was worried about the drive to Boston. I said, I don't want to drive to Boston right now. I was like, are you sure I asked him, are you sure you're in pain? Are you sure it's not getting any better? Because I don't want to drive to Boston.
Sure, I would invent any app just so I don't have to drive to Boston. Jeff, you were wondering what was the root cause of innovation. Here it is.
Right.
I hate driving to Boston.
Right.
You got to have real motivation behind predictive health.
Yeah, because
it was because Talal didn't want to.
I'm looking at this time. I said, if we go right now, we sit there for 3-4 hours. I'm gonna come back with a rush hour. Do you really want to go? I mean, like, but
well, I agree with that. I mean, they always say necessity is the mother of invention.
yeah, and my wife looked at them. He's like, are you serious right now? So like, well, it is.
Like, but I actually think we're onto something here, because I believe that laziness is actually the mother of invention.
It is.
I'm like the most motivated, lazy person I know. Every time I have to do something, I'm like, I cannot keep doing this. I am going to write an app to do it. It's just too much work.
I mean, Eric will come across a problem like, cutting clips out of videos that you were talking about done that before. And he'll come up with this problem, and he'll spend 2 days, coding up a solution that makes it so he never has to do it again. It's not, it's not totally lazy. It's just like, it's like feature laziness. So, all right. Well, so my second question from ChatGPT is, I'm reading this. It's a quote, so you have to go with the language. It says, "Be honest. How long before your AI starts diagnosing people just by looking at their selfies?"
I think that would be quick, because we already had people taking selfies, and I'm sure if the AI scream at them like, this is not a social media.
Right.
I mean, so to be honest with you, so that's going to happen soon.
Yeah.
If we worry about images and image quality, the AI is going to tell the patient, like, listen, we need to look at the wound, not at your face.
Right. Right.
Actually, I was going to
I see that happening soon.
Can your AI app tell whether the picture is going to be good enough for the doctor? So you already have that built in.
So we do that. So what we do today, the image acquisition, is look at the wound first and try to detect it. So we take what we call the base image day one. We say this is a good picture, and now from there we start like compare to day one. So the angle, the position, the distance, the AI would tell them that, and we rate the image for the doctor. We say this is like 2 stars out of 5 or 3 stars out of 5. So they know the doctor is this is not the best picture. And also because if you're in pain, you're not going to able to too much like position. You're going to take the picture as fast as you can. So we allow 3 times for the patient. We take the picture, then we take the 1 out of the 3, the best if we have to. Yeah, we and what we did also, that's based on user experience. If somebody doing let's say head surgery, so we're looking at the face. So when they take the camera out, if they put it on their hand, they're not going to see any detection. The camera is expecting the face.
Got it.
When we see the face, we start looking at the wound, and that's one, because we get a lot early days that people taking selfie in bed and on the chairs, and we couldn't see anything. So okay, we specify this.
So Eric, before you jump in, I'll just say I'm going to actually add one last. I never do this, but
okay.
A third question from ChatGPT, because I forgot I was going to ask this one before, but it's funny. You don't have to answer. It says, what's the weirdest thing your AI has ever flagged as a potential infection? A ketchup stain, a tattoo, or just a really bad sunburn?
We haven't got that far yet. So, but I'm sure the doctor can call me one day. I said,
that's not right. That's
well, no. I mean, the thing is always is what we catch is people taking picture with the dressing on the wound, and they're saying it's bleeding. So we've seen that. Whether they have the dressing on, you can't see anything, and they said it's bleeding. So
my son, by the way, had a lizard for a few years, and it had like this red mark on its mouth, and we were like, he was very, very worried that it was bleeding or whatever, and so we took it into the reptile store, and they looked at it and like, I think was it eating strawberries? Like, yeah. So yes, it was. Anyway, I was going to ask a question that was related to the AI, ability to detect quality and also detect the wounds and so forth. But I imagine that this is one of those cases, and you hear about this with AI, where there's a potential for bias with respect to skin tones and so forth, and there must be some different you have to probably make sure that those data sets are covering everybody, not just one population. And what's your take on that piece?
So we discovered this by luck. I mean, I'd love to take the engineers take their credit for this. So when we did the first trial, the pilot we did with a global smile in Ecuador, and there's dark skinned people, light skinned people there all places, and we were able to detect the redness and even a dark skinned people. So it worked well for us. But we figured that we were lucky at this stage, because it might not work all the time because the lighting was correct. So right now we follow what Google developed was the skin tone metrics. So we developed a sticker people can put on their skin before they take the picture, so we can detect the skin tone and then give a better way to do it. Now the technology is evolving. Maybe we know from the first picture this is like a dark skin, so we assume that on all the pictures. But right now we're depending on the sticker. It's
Mhm.
just to be on the safe side.
Interesting.
Yep. Interesting.
Well, Eric, I don't know. I feel like we're coming up on that half hour. So
Yeah, we are. Although I just one last question before we end the episode is, what is your, so I've been saying, you ask my family, I've been saying I want an AI doctor for at least the last 10 years. Like I think it may be a little contrarian, but I'm like, I mean, I don't want to scare your
Yeah.
potential clients or whatever, because you said they don't want
Yeah.
to have their job taken away, but I would love to be able to get a quick diagnosis at home or whatever. What is your thought on AI, the potential rise of AI doctors, and when is that going to happen? And I know this is a very open-ended
No,
question.
so it is. I mean, let's go back to what today is happening. People Google their symptoms, and they discover Google tell them you have X, and they call the doctor, "Hey, I have X," and who told you? Google. I search it. Well, I mean, the internet. You can't trust everything coming out of the internet. I think when we
Yeah.
have AI synthesized and people trust, like build a AI foundation where it's it's approved by doctors, say the data in here, it is correct, not someone on the web wrote this like diagnostic. Then it become a tools for me where I use AI. I have this symptoms and this my medical history. The AI can tell me based on this, I think you have XYZ. Call your doctor or do this. But the AI has to be approved by the medical professional. Cannot be me
Yeah.
put like trying collecting data from all the place, put them in one place and say I have an AI doctor for you.
Well, I also think that there is still a legal aspect to it, right? Because
Correct.
who takes the responsibility? Because AI, it needs to be trained correctly, back to what Talal's saying. And what if it does misdiagnose or glitch even on a correct, input?
Yeah.
So there are greater challenges than just tech.
Correct.
But
So
there's
I
a
mean
balance.
today, yeah. So today, when you call your doctor for you have a concern, the nurse is going to ask you, "Do you have do you have a fever? Are you coughing?" All these questions. Those can be you can enter them ahead of time, and then the AI makes sense out of them and say, "Okay, based on this, I think you need to go see the doctor today, based on medical history and what you told me today." So that's the. I mean, in the U.S., I mean, in overall, if I do a surgery, my surgeon is responsible for my recovery. I cannot go to another doctor and say, "What do you think?" I have to go back to the surgeon. But and the same thing in general practitioner. I mean, the general practitioner has to say, use the system to tell me your symptoms, and the system will let you know. We trust the system, and it'll let you know what to do next. Now,
Mhm.
it's not gonna be 100% bulletproof for everything, but at least it gives you indication if you need to go to a doctor or not.
Yeah. So I just want to say, like, there's also a balance, right? With all of these AI applications, we have this kind of sort of, we judge AI by whether it's perfect, and we judge people by totally different
Yeah,
criteria.
absolutely.
People make mistakes all the time, and it could be that AI in general, and this is, I think, to your point, Elena, before, but AI in general might be improving the overall statistics, but causing some people who would not have had bad outcomes to, in other words, it might switch who has bad outcomes, but overall it might save 10 times as many people. And I feel like we're still in the mode where that prospect will cause a enormous slowdown in the technology. We call it the self-driving car problem or whatever. Like if the self-driving car kills one person in 10 million and drivers kill one person in a million,
Yeah.
in a certain time period, we will still not be okay with self-driving cars because they kill people, right? It's the
Yeah.
same, it's that same kind of, feeling. Anyway, we are indeed coming up well past the end of the episode. So what we always do is, as I mentioned in the preambles of the show, we always go around and ask our guests to give everybody to give one thing they want to leave the audience with. We always make our guests go first. I like to say that that's hazing, so you don't have time to think about what you want to say, and then I always get to go last. So Talal, Go ahead. What would you like to leave our audience with?
I mean, what I'm telling is like, yes, we are in a AI phase, AI era. That we're not replacing everything we know today. AI is a tools to help us move forward. It's not to replace anybody's job, not to replace anything. It's a tools. End of the day, we're like a car is a tool to take you from point A to point B. AI is the same way. It happened to understand data better than and faster than a human, and we're going to use that for our advantage. So give it a chance. That's what I'll say.
Awesome. Well, Talal, before I jump in with my one thing, what is the best way for people to reach you if they want to learn more or work with
Well,
you?
the best way, I believe it or not, I answer LinkedIn messages faster than I answer my email because the reason that they short the message. So if LinkedIn, my profile is there, and also there's my Gmail account there. Either way, that's the
Awesome.
best way to reach out to me.
Excellent. Well, I will just build on what you were saying. I think that what you were talking about is so important. We need to give AI a chance. It needs time to get better, and so because something doesn't work, right away, it doesn't mean it's not going to get there. I keep saying to people, it's like to your point about it being a tool, it's like we keep saying, like, why is this hammer not building my house? Right? Like, it's not going to build the house. Hammers don't build houses, people build houses with
Exactly.
hammers. So very much agree with that point, and I will pass it to Elena.
So I will continue building on it, and I would say that healthcare is a very broken product of which we all are consumers. It's complicated, it doesn't work on many levels, and we all deal with it. So any help healthcare can get is amazing. And when the contemporary tools are used to help and offer meaningful help that is both enhancing for patient outcomes and reducing doctor workflow loads and reducing costs, give them a chance. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Yeah, and so my one thing is, I just really think that what you're doing, Talal, taps into a really interesting sort of approach to getting people into this healthcare AI, which is decision improvement rather than diagnostic, rather than prognostic or whatever. It's basically saying, okay, how can I help people who are not medical professionals make this decision whether to seek help or not? I just think that's a really valuable. I know I would use it, and I don't know, anyone who has had kids, when do I bring this kid in? All those kinds of things is a very relatable, very relatable phenomenon. And so I really think that decision improvement mode has, for patient decision or non-healthcare professional decision making process. And the great thing about the way you're doing is it involves the medical professional in it, but without having to invest the huge amount of time. So I'm really excited to see where predictive healthcare is going to go, and both in general and your company by things. So great to have you. This is a fantastic episode. Thank you so much to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.